Hello, and welcome to another episode of Mr. Bench's Book Reviews. What's in the box today? We've got our book, and it's called The Sandalwood Girl. It's by Sheila McCullagh, and it's from the Puddle Lane series. Now, this is the second book in a 5-book series. The first one was When the Clock Struck 13. I'll put the link to my review of that in the comments, and yeah, so do watch that if you like, but you can also watch this. I'll try to give you enough context, even if you've not seen When the Clock Struck 13, to understand what's going on. I think they're supposed to be comprehensible when read individually, but they do make up an overarching story. Puddle Lane books often have this little drawing of the lane at the start. There's the old house where the magician lives, and there's even got the little clock tower where the clock is struck 13 times in the other book. But I don't want to spoil that too much for you. Let's just get to this one. It's written by Sheila McCullagh, illustrated by John Davis. The Sandalwood Girl. Guess that's her there. A girl made of sandalwood. Whatever that is. I'll just point out another thing. These are their reading program stage 4, or at least this one is. And you have a slightly longer text here, and you have a shorter text here, but they all form part of the story. This doesn't just repeat what's written here, I don't think. It may do, in part. But basically the idea is the more advanced reader, such as a parent, I think is meant to read the long bit, and the other reader who's learning just reads the little bit. So these are also sometimes grammatically slightly variant from these, often in shorter sentences, have fewer adverbs or adverbial phrases, things like that. That's just a bit of context. Otherwise, I'll point out anything interesting as we go along, as is my wont. So yeah, it's the Sandalwood Girl. She's got a little red spot on her forehead, as though she's a member of some sort of caste. I don't know if that would be relevant. I don't know if she'll be discriminated against for being in a caste. It is often discriminated against. I don't know much about the caste system, actually. But anyway, there's Humpty Dumpty in the attic, or someone who looks very like him. I don't know. If this were an Axel Scheffler book, there would probably be like a Gruffalo toy here. But it's not. It's illustrated by John Davis, who is probably not the inventor of Humpty Dumpty, and probably doesn't, I don't know, maybe John Davis doesn't have copyright over any specific toys, so it's just done like generic lion, some sort of head. Oh, I guess that's looks like the head of a marionette. It's teddy bear, cuddly toy monkey, things like that. A clown. Here we go then, and the Sandalwood Girl is sitting on a shelf, windowsill, I guess you could say. Oh, no, I guess that's a shelf. Here we go then. On with the book. There was once a very old garden. That's not what it says, sorry, I've misread the first sentence, that's embarrassing. There was once a very old house. They say that in the, they talk about the old, or the age of the house in the other one, so that's nice if you've read the other one. You know straight away where you are. Even, it says very old house, I don't know the exact wording, but I'm pretty sure we're in that same house. It stood in a big wild garden at the end of Puddle Lane. I can believe that. That'll be, if you've been looking at this map, the end of this Puddle Lane, there's the end, so it's the garden of the, what I call the magician's house. It's a wild garden. Does that mean wild things are going to happen? Let's see. A magician lived in an attic room under the roof, but the rest of the house was empty. He really just lives in that one room. He never goes to the kitchen or anything. I guess maybe he just conjures himself up some broccoli if he gets hungry. That is to say, it was empty except for some old toys, and there we'd already spotted some of those, hadn't we? The toys had been left behind in an empty attic room. There are several attic rooms, because there's the one where he lives. Oh, that's weird. What's going on the other floors? We don't know. The attic room is where all the action is. So here we go. Oh, it's a nice face-on view of the Sandalwood Girl there. When the people moved out of the house, they had forgotten all about the toys. There was a clown and a monkey, and these are the things we spotted earlier, and 3 or 4 puppets from an old toy theatre. That would be what I called marionettes. There was a rocking horse and a young lion cub. And this lion is quite maned. It's not what I call a young lion cub, but what do I know? They all lay there in the dust. A wooden girl sat on a dusty shelf by the window. Shelf by a window, that's... Well, I thought it's not quite the sill. The sill is this bit, the sill, and that's the actual shelf. That's a shelf by the window. She was made of sandalwood. Well, there we go. That'll be her then. That's our eponymous Sandalwood Girl. Found her. It's not this one. Don't get confused. That's just some doll. No, we're not interested in her. Children had once... They're using these, I think they're called pluperfects. Are they? Had loved to play. Children had once loved to play, to show this like ages ago. But no one ever came to play with her now. The Sandalwood Girl was very lonely. I guess there'd been a family with children then, living in the house before the magician moved in. The Sandalwood Girl was very lonely. So that's the first point where we have the fact that she has some sort of brain or some sort of sense of being. She can sense that she's lonely. She stared out of the dusty window, so she can look as well. Sense of sight. One of the dusty windows, even the windows just at the tree which grew outside. Tree's not dusty though. Rain keeps it nice and clean. That's a good thing about growing outside. Sometimes birds flew into the tree. I guess they don't mean the birds are like slamming their beaks against the tree. They probably mean they're just landing in the tree. Flew into the tree could mean a couple of things. Sometimes she saw cats climbing up it, probably to eat the birds, I imagine. But they never came into the attic. Well, there aren't any tasty birds in there, are there? And the Sandalwood Girl grew very sad. Well, that's sad. She wants to be attacked by a cat. That's not happening. One night, when the moon was shining down and the wind was blowing a gale, the window cord broke. Oh dear. There's a spider there. Some people are scared of spiders. So that seems a bit reckless, just putting a big scary spider in the picture when it's not really relevant to the story. And we're told it's dusty. Not, even if you did mention the cobwebs, you wouldn't have to depict one of them. I mean, some might be scared of owls. There's an owl in the other one when the clock struck 13. So there you go. Maybe this is the same owl. The window fell open. Here you go. These are these short sentences again. I'm on this bit of the book. The window fell open. A big white owl flew in at the window. The owl had been out all night in the wind. See, they're not joining together, these clauses. So it's a boy owl. He flew down onto a shelf near the Sandalwood Girl, and he went to sleep. Not quite sure why he's doing that. Not quite sure. Well, it's just the wind has just blown the window open. I guess the owl's sheltering from the wind. That would be how I would read that. It's okay. It's a big white owl. It still fits through the window. The owl slept on the shelf all day. When night came, he flew out of the attic again. After that, he often came back to sleep on the shelf. The Sandalwood Girl couldn't speak, but she was very glad to see him, so she can look and she can feel, but she can't speak. The days didn't seem quite so long with the barn owl sleeping there. I don't know if barn owls traditionally like sleeping indoors, in barns. But I guess if there are a few barns here, then it's found an adequate substitute for a barn. I don't know if they've changed her facial expression there. I mean, she looked a bit glum in some of the earlier ones, but maybe the corners of her mouth are starting to elevate slightly, which is nice. There was a clock on the roof of the old house. An iron boy stood by the clock. And that he comes in the other book. I mean, what we're doing here, I might as well tell you, spoiler alert, is we seem to be experiencing the same night that is the subject of the other story, but from a different perspective. The first one you get it mainly about this iron boy, and now we're getting it pretty much from the perspective of the sandalwood girl, but it's the same time period that's being covered pretty much. Seem that way. The iron boy sounded the hours. He struck the bell with a silver hammer, so that everyone knew what time it was. That's good. He always stands on the north side of the tower. It's 11 o'clock in that picture. One night, the moon was shining down. Now, this is a bit weird in some ways because, I don't know, fair enough. So you had one night earlier when the moon was shining down. It said earlier the owl was flown in the window. But then some time passes when the owl's sleeping there regularly. And now we're in another night, so one other night. The moon was shining down again, as it likes to do. It's a full moon in that one, no, it's a full moon in the other one. These interesting things always happen during full moon. It's not clear, there's no picture of a moon on the other one. So the sandalwood girl was sitting on the shelf. Well, that's what she tends to do. She doesn't seem very mobile. She was just sitting on that shelf. Day in, day out, night in, night out. The sandalwood girl was feeling very lonely again, so that owl hasn't really helped. Oh, there it goes, they're going to explain that. The owl was away hunting. Okay. She heard the iron boy strike the hours 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. At 12 o'clock, she was still listening. She was waiting for the iron boy to strike midnight. She heard the iron boy begin to strike the bell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. The iron boy had struck the bell 13 times. See, I don't think I'm giving too much away by letting you know that that happens in the book entitled When the Clock Struck 13. So yeah, we're in that very special evening. So it sounds like the sandalwood girl just sits there, and her only real one, she likes listening to the bell by the sounds of it. She's waiting for him to strike. Sounds like that kind of makes her feel less lonely, I guess, because she kind of senses that there's someone else out there. The sandalwood girl was so surprised that she sat up. I'm not quite sure what they mean by sat up. I mean, I guess she... Well, she's kind of leaning on the wall, so I guess she... Oh, there you go, they've kind of drawn it, so she's kind of... And then she was even more surprised to find that she could sit up. Because I guess she didn't realise she could sit up, or only now she can. Now that is quite interesting because if you watch the other video, when the clock struck 13, the iron boy is also able to, they say, move once he struck the bell 13 times. But in his case, he realises he can move, then he moves his foot, and then he says, wow, I can move. But here, the girl sits up, and then she realises she can sit up. So she doesn't get this initial sense of sitting up before she can sit up. It's the actual physical movement that reveals to her that she has this new found power, ability. Well, she's even standing up now, look at that. She's doing a bit of a wobble. She tried to move her arms, and she could move her arms. She tried to move her legs, and she could move her legs. She tried to stand up, and she could stand up. They've bolded could in all those instances. There's the spider again. And there's the monkey's head. Wow. The sandalwood girl stepped to the edge of the shelf. She leaned out to look over the edge, and she fell off the shelf. Oh dear, there she's falling. She doesn't look so happy there. She fell onto the dusty floor. That's quite a nice perspective. Got her lying on the floor like that. Kind of emphasises that she's fallen from a great height, because the camera is still up here near the shelf. And then you're looking down on her, kind of this. She's plummeted. I mean, the shelf doesn't look that high. Some of the other pictures, but it's still quite a nice way of drawing it. Obviously, there's no one up there except maybe the spider looking down at her. But you know, she lay there for a moment, looking up at the window. So she's still looking up the window. So she's not dead, as it were. Just lying on the floor. The sandalwood girl hadn't hurt herself. That's nice. Maybe she doesn't feel pain if she's made of wood. Not sure though. And she hadn't broken anything. I guess they mean hadn't broken any of her limbs. I don't think they mean she didn't like land on a rocking horse and destroy it. After a moment, she got up and looked all around. The door of the room was open. There she is peering out the door. These are quite nice drawings. I mean, I'm saying they're nice. They are, but as I say, you don't really... I'm not spotting many like interesting details in the background, really. You don't have to have them, it distracts from the main action. But sometimes children like saying, oh look, it's the Gruffalo, or something. Or like you could change Humpty Dumpty's expression if you wanted to, but then that would probably be a distraction. And there's enough going on in the actual story. So I think I can get on board with what John Davis is trying to do here. So what's she doing then now? The sandalwood girl walked across to the open door. Her legs were very stiff, but she found that she could walk. They've bolded it again. Bolding this could is obviously, it's like, this is our main message. She can. Yeah. New ability. It's good when iron boys strike things 13 times. She looked round the door. It's quite a nice picture too of her looking through the crack of the door. The sandalwood girl saw an empty passage. At the end of the passage there was another door. A light was shining under it, and the door was a little way open. Now that is almost like the style of the right-hand pages, even though it's on the left-hand side. I mean, it can't be easy, complete like changing style every page, but there, that would almost be quite fitting on the right-hand side. A light was shining under it. That's under the door. You know, you can sometimes see if the light's on in the room behind a door, if there's a bit of there's no draft excluder or something. And the door was a little way open, well then you'd be able to see through the normal opening anyway. The sandalwood girl walked slowly down the passage. She wasn't used to walking, and she still walked very stiffly. Fair enough, that's in brackets. I mean, it's just trying to explain why she's walking slowly, like, even though she's obviously, well, conceivably quite excited to be able to walk, and why she's not like rushing around, because she's still a bit stiff. Not quite sure what kind of joints she has. I guess she has some sort of movable knees. And possibly even elbows. She came to the door of the other room. She opened the door and looked in. An old man was sitting in a chair by the fire. He looked up and saw the sandalwood girl. They put commas before the ands here. I think it's just to help the reader, who's not very advanced often. I understand what clauses are changing. So there's an old bloke in a chair by the fire. Who's that going to be? Well, I know who that is. It's the magician. "Come in," said the old man. "Come in." He was quite welcoming. "You're just too late to meet the Iron Boy. The Iron Boy has just gone." That's right, in the other book, when the clock struck 13, the Iron Boy has a chat with the magician at some point. So that'll be what they're referring back to. So, excuse me, so he's gone. Don't know if she would have wanted to meet the Iron Boy. Don't know if she knows who that is. I mean, if she didn't have a line of sight to the bell tower, then she wouldn't have really known where these dongs were coming from. Unless, back in the day, when she used to get played with by children, I guess they might have taken her outside and she might have been able to catch a glance of the tower and then put two and two together to make 5, maybe. The sandalwood girl went into the room. That's just a joke about Notes from the Underground by Dostoevsky. And the fact that he's striking the bell one time too many. But don't worry about that. Good book though, if you do get a chance to read it. I've not reviewed it on this channel yet, but I may do one day. Put that as a comment if you'd like me to review Notes from the Underground. The sandalwood girl went into the room. "Are you the magician?" she asked. "Yes, I'm the magician," said the old man. So she's aware that there's the magician. She knows that there's a magician. Who's like, I don't know if she knows anything about him, but you don't really know what her backstory is, like how much prior knowledge she has, but she's clearly aware that there's the magician and that's him. She's just recognised that by his garb. I guess he does look a bit like a fairly stereotypical magician. And if you know there's a magician hanging around in one of these attic rooms, then you see a bloke looking like that, then that's a reasonable thing to ask. What can I do for you? That's the magician asking that. The sandalwood girl looked at the magician. He's got a big crow on his shoulder, look at that. It's quite a cool picture as well. I quite like, I mean, they do like close-ups and stuff, and here you have this bird's beak and then the eye of the magician are quite similar shapes. So they're kind of forming a line through the picture, and it kind of emphasises this line of peering deep into the sandalwood girl, and they're looking across the pages. It's pretty well done. Well, anyway, she looked at the magician. He sounded very gruff, but he looked very kind. So what is he? Gruff or kind? Hard to know. Do you trust your ears or your eyes? I mean, she's generally been a listening person, I guess, the last however many years. But she's been looking out of windows and stuff. I mean, she seems to also trust her eyes. Please help me, she whispered. Please help me. I've been sitting on a shelf for years and years. When the clock struck 13, I found that I could move. I can talk to you too. Now, so talking is another new ability. She's not been chuntering away while she's been sat on that shelf. Otherwise, she could have said, "Hey, Al, how's it going?" Start a conversation. But I want to be really alive. I want to be free. Now, this concept of being really alive is quite hard to understand, and this freedom, like, I'm not sure what exactly the restrictions are here, and what the distinction is between her current state of being and really alive. I don't know if she means she wants to be made of, like, flesh and bones, like a human child. I'm not sure what her lack of freedom is based on. That's what she says. She clearly has some sort of intrinsic sense of not being free and not being really alive by whatever definition she's applying. The magician looked at the sandalwood girl. "You want to be free," he said. So he seems to understand what she's on about. I mean, he's a magician. They're often quite good at understanding what people are on about. "Yes," said the sandalwood girl. "I want to be free and I want to be really alive." So again, whatever that means. I guess she's not growing. Growth is possibly a feature of being alive, and if she's in a kind of static state, then maybe that's what means she's not alive. Possible she's not breathing. It's respiration. We did have this in biology once at school. There was something like 7 things that you could look at to see if something was alive or not, that like rocks didn't have, but plants, animals and fungi did. But I can't really remember. I don't know if she's done biology. "Are you sure?" asked the magician. "The world is a dangerous place." He says something like that to the boy as well. "You're safe here in this house. You can walk about and talk to me." There you go. So he's saying you can do some of the things that living beings can do. "You won't be lonely anymore. Do you really want to be free?" Well, there, if he's saying you're safe in this house, do you want to be free? That's almost as though he is keeping her in the house. He's like her imprisoner. I mean, that's the way you would normally read that paragraph. "I want to be free." So she wants to run off. She wants to escape from the clutches of the evil magician, or the magician. The gruff-sounding magician. I want to be free, said the sandalwood girl. I want to be free. The Iron Boy says that a lot too. He, instead of just saying things like yes, he repeats the sentence, I want to be free. So she and this boy seem to have quite similar desires. She's kind of sitting down there. I don't know what's happened there. Maybe she fell over. The magician sighed. Ugh, nice. I want to grow up. Ah, there you go. So it is growth. Said the sandalwood girl, I want to be really alive. So maybe that's it. She wants to be the sandalwood woman. I guess. Teenager. I don't know how old she is now. She's been sitting there for years and years, but I don't know what her equivalent age, based on her size and developmental state, would be for humans. Maybe about 7 or something. I think she's prepubescent. The magician shook his head. It will be very difficult, he said. I don't care, said the sandalwood girl. I don't care how difficult it is. Very well, said the magician. Quite nice, this magician. He's like warning her. He's giving her all the information so she can make her decision. He's telling her what she can do in the house. Telling her how challenging it will be to change things. And then if she says she doesn't care, he's just going along with it. Very well, said the magician. I can't make you really alive myself. Not more alive than you are now. So again, there. So it's as though she's in some kind of semi-state between inertness, and life. But I can tell you what you must do. Please tell me, said the sandalwood girl. These are nice. There are a few little mice, like, nibbling on things. There are Puddle Lane stories that focus on mice. So I don't know if that's Hickory Mouse or one of the others. A lot of them are named after wood. There's one called, like, Grandfather Oak. Don't know if that's him. Probably not. But still nice. Because it's canon that you have mice running around all over Puddle Lane. You will have to go away, said the magician. You'll have to go a long way away. Good set of teeth, the magician. I will go anywhere, said the sandalwood girl. Then you must make a long journey, said the magician. A long way away from here, there's a country called Zorn. Now, as I point out in the other video, Zorn, Z-O-R-N, means Zorn in German. Or it's written the same way, whatever that's called. Homonym? Possibly. And it means fury or rage, but I'm not sure they're going for any sort of connotation with fury or rage. They keep saying it's magical. And it's a long way away. It's a magical country. You must go to the country of Zorn and find your way to the Blue Mountains. High up in the Blue Mountains, you will find the Silver River. If you wash in the Silver River, you'll become really alive. So I always use really alive as a kind of... And it sounds slightly... what's the word? Tautological? Like you're saying the same thing twice. But it's to distinguish from her current state of being a bit alive, sort of. And then really alive. So I guess it will mean she'll transform into an actual girl. With, like, actual... I'm not even using the right words here, but I mean a human girl. I guess is what they're going for. He's showing her on the map. That's quite nice. Like, he must be pointing to the river or the Blue Mountains or something. How can I get there? Asked the sandalwood girl. How can I find the way? Well, that's what the map's for, I imagine. I know a white owl, said the magician. He's a friend of mine. He knows the way to the country of Zorn. He'll take you. A white owl sometimes slept on a shelf in the attic, said the sandalwood girl. That's the one, said the magician. That's nice. It's kind of... So that owl was sleeping on that shelf. Because you might have thought, what was the point of that? Didn't seem that relevant to the story to begin with, but now the owl was becoming a key character. That's the one, said the magician. He told me he was sleeping there. So he can talk, well, possibly the magician can just communicate with animals. He told me he was sleeping there. I'll call him if you like. And he's asking again, but are you sure you want to go? They've bolded sure. It will be a dangerous journey. It's not just difficult, it will also be dangerous. It's like another level of hardship. It would be much safer if you stayed here with me. Now, I'm not sure if we're supposed to read that in a sinister way. It's like you should stay here in my clutches. And he's just trying to warn her maybe it's not dangerous. He's just trying to talk her out of it. But maybe we should assume that the magician is acting in good faith. You are very kind, but I must go, said the sandalwood girl. Can I go now? She's quite impatient. Her elbow is definitely bending in that picture, so she must have some sort of joints. The magician sighed. He does that quite a lot. I mean, he's probably quite tired. Middle of the night, isn't it? It's 13 o'clock. That's what the Iron Boy said, and not the traditional 13, like lunchtime. It's well, middle of the night, it's midnight, but it's 13. That's what the Iron Boy said. The Iron Boy who struck the bell. He's gone to the country of Zorn. You may meet him there. Yeah, that happens in the other book. Well, if you really want to go, I will call the barn owl. He said white owl earlier, he says barn owl now. I don't know if white owl is like just the colour or if there's a species called white owl. You would have to ask an ornithologist or Google it. If white owl is a different species, then I would criticise McCullagh slightly. Particularly it's half white, half brown. So that may be a slight inconsistency. But the magician maybe is just a bit tired. Maybe he doesn't know much about owls either. So maybe don't blame the author. Just assume it's the magician getting muddled. I'm ready, said the sandalwood girl, but before I go, please tell me my name. You haven't a name, said the magician. If you ever had one, I've forgotten it. Well, he's an old bloke. And he doesn't even know the difference between white owls and barn owls, and so names are a whole different kettle of fish. But it doesn't matter, you'll find a name in the country of Zorn. The magician got up, he went to the window and opened it. He gave a long, low call, and then we can see the owl flying in, so that'd be a bird call. Like people sometimes do. The big white owl came flying in through the window. He landed on the back of the magician's chair. The magician stood up. Welcome, barn owl, he said. I have something for you to do. You must take this sandalwood girl to the country of Zorn. She wants to be really alive. She wants to grow up. So it's explained to the owl, because that isn't quite clear. So I'm sure the owl appreciates that. Set her down safely on the edge of the country of Zorn and come back to me. The magician picked up the sandalwood girl and set her carefully on the owl's back. Hold on tight, sandalwood girl, he said. Goodbye, and may good luck go with you. The barn owl spread his wings. He flew out of the open window with the sandalwood girl on his back. There he is. Oh, you can see the time now. It's about... looks like it's about 1:30. So I've been going for a good 90 minutes it's taken to get all that sorted. And we don't know how long it took getting up with that stiff legs. That may have taken like an hour just to even stand up on the windowsill or on the shelf. Hard to say sometimes. And we don't know how long it took the owl to come around. I mean, they didn't have a page where they just said magician and sandalwood girl sat there for 20 minutes not doing anything. But it's nice to have the clock so you get an idea of what's been going on. They flew over the houses and over the trees, over the hills and under the stars, until at last they came to the country of Zorn. There's a very similar page in the other book as well. Do watch that video if you're interested. Then the owl flew down to the ground and the sandalwood girl got off his back. The owl looks ginormous in that one, but that might just be a weird angle. That's quite a nice picture. These pictures are pretty good. You've got to say John Davis has done good work here. You must find your own way now, said the owl, so the owl can talk. I think up until now it's only been like receiving information. I mean, the magician has mentioned that the owl has told him things, but it seems the owl can also talk in a language that the sandalwood girl understands. You must find your own way to the Blue Mountains. I must fly back to the magician. So they've both got things they must do. They're obligated. So much for freedom. I will, said the sandalwood girl. Thank you, barn owl. I will never forget you. And I shall never forget you, said the owl. Just suggesting we've got some sort of bond of eternal friendship. I don't know if the owl comes in like book 5 and it's like, I didn't forget you, and like saves the day. Who knows? The owl lifted his wings and flew away under the stars. They said under the stars earlier. It seems like an odd thing to specify. I mean, I guess all they're trying to say is it's a clear night, rather than saying the owl isn't flying billions of miles away. The sandalwood girl looked at the trees and the hills. "I am in the country of Zorn," she said. "I am in the country of Zorn." I'm not sure if she's just going on trust that the owl's taken her to the right place, or if she's recognising something. I mean, they did look at the map. Maybe there was some obvious landing place with a particular tree and hill formation that she's recognised. "I will find my way to the Blue Mountains, and then I shall be really alive." Presumably, she's going to bathe in this silver river. And that's the end. Well, there you go. That was pretty good. A lot going on in that. I was just going to have a quick look at that last bit. So it ends with "I'm in the country of Zorn." I'm just going to look how it started. Well, it starts in Puddle Lane, yeah. So she's very much changed location then. I like the way they say what they mean by really alive. I was a bit more confused in the other one, when the clock struck 13, about alive. But they talk about the growth, and they talk about even more alive than you are now, to make it quite clear that she's already entered some sort of state that is presumably slightly more alive. I mean, it's a spectrum, basically. So, I mean, she has some sort of life-like behaviour, even when she's sitting on the shelf, because she's already feeling and looking out the window, seeing things, hearing things. And then she gets movement and the ability to talk, and this desire to be free. Though that isn't as clear if being alive is synonymous with being free, or if being free is just getting away from this magician who is possibly holding her against her will in the attic room there. So that wasn't entirely clear, but other than that, that was great. I will probably do the other books in this story arc at some point on the channel. Do let me know in the comments if you would like me to, and then I can accelerate the scheduling. Otherwise, they will come around as they come around. Yeah, so thank you very much for listening, and I will see you next time for another of Mr. Bench's book reviews. Bye!